Welcome back to another deep dive. We take your sources, unpack what's truly important. And today, we're diving into a really fascinating stack of notes. It's about a celebrity scandal, touches on relationships, public image, and honestly, the bewildering role technology plays in modern drama.
Yeah, the material you sent over, it centers around these leaked messages, supposedly involving Dan Osborne and Christine McGuinness, and then the fallout, right? And Dan's pretty surprising defense, all against the backdrop of his marriage to Jacqueline Jossa.
Right, so our mission for this deep dive is basically to sift through these specific details you gave us, understand the sequence, the different responses, and then maybe think about what this whole story tells us about truth versus perception when everything's online.
It's definitely a tangled web.
It really is. Makes you question everything. Okay, let's unpack this.
Okay, so where this story really kicks off, according to the notes, is with a leak. A series of text messages, supposedly between Dan Osborne and Christine McGuinness, they just surface.
And the timing, the material points this out specifically, was incredibly notable. Because both of them, Dan and Christine, were apparently dealing with their own marriage issues at the time.
Exactly. Dan with Jacqueline Jossa, and Christine, well, she was navigating her split from Patty McGuinness. So when these messages pop up, suggesting something maybe more than just casual friendship, it obviously grabbed headlines.
Yeah.
The notes describe them as not overtly explicit, but they add quickly they weren't innocent either. That's the phrase used.
Okay, so what does that mean? The notes mention things like compliments, late-night messages, just enough suggestiveness to spark questions, it sounds like. Deliberately ambiguous?
Kind of, just enough there to make everyone wonder, right? Had Dan crossed a line? Was Christine equally involved, or, as the source asks, was something else going on, maybe more calculated?
And that's where Dan's response comes in. And the notes you provided, they call it baffling, just straight up baffling. Instead of a simple denial, he claims the messages.
Yeah.
Well, he suggests they might have been AI generated.
AI?
Right.
In this context. It's pretty wild.
It is.
The notes point out, look, we live in an age where deep fakes, synthetic content, it's becoming disturbingly common. So this defense, they call it bold but bizarre.
Yeah.
It immediately forces you to think, is this actually a clever deflection like the source asks? Or is it just, a desperate excuse?
And while all that's swirling the AI stuff, the rumors Jacqueline Jossa makes her move. The notes call it a power move.
Yeah, that photo.
Exactly. She posts this stunning photo celebrating her show's success.
And what the notes really highlight here is her approach. It was deliberate. No comments on the drama, no digs at Dan, just this silent, radiant confidence.
Right. The interpretation in the notes is that this was pretty loud and clear. She wasn't going to play the victim publicly.
And then Dan comments on her post.
Oh yeah, I saw that mentioned. Complimenting her beauty, right?
Exactly. And the notes capture that split public reaction. Some people praising her grace under pressure, others kind of side-eyeing his sudden admiration right after these message leaks.
Yeah, it raises that question from the material, doesn't it? Like, could one public compliment really fix things after all this?
Or was it maybe, as the source suggests, part of a bigger plan to save face?
It's hard to know.
It is. The notes do observe that Jacqueline refusing to sort of feed the drama, it seemed to make her look stronger. Fans rallied, calling her, the picture of strength and dignity.
But then there's that crucial caveat the notes add.
Right. No one really knows what conversations are happening behind the camera. We only see the curated version.
So true. Meanwhile, you've got Christine McGuinness. A completely different response.
Totally different. The material says she simply stayed silent.
Which meant?
Well, according to the notes, no statements, no denials, just quiet observation.
And the notes point out how her silence, unlike Jacqueline's sort of confident silence, actually created more questions.
Like what?
Like, okay, if the messages were fake, as Dan kind of suggested, why wouldn't she just shut it down quickly? And if they were real, then was the silence about protecting someone or herself?
Right.
That's the question posed.
Right. It leaves a lot open. So if we step back a bit, look at the bigger picture the material provides. It reminds us this isn't like the first controversy linked to Dan Osborne.
No, definitely not.
His relationship with Jacqueline Jossa has apparently seen its share of storms, rumors, separations, getting back together. It's been public.
But the notes really emphasize why the stakes feel different this time.
And that's the AI thing.
Exactly. That element of the AI defense. Introducing technology as this possible scapegoat.
And this is where the material raises a really, really critical point for all of us, really. If those texts were genuine, Well, it's straightforward betrayal, right?
Yeah.
Allegedly. But if Dan's AI claim had any truth, if they weren't real messages, that becomes something else. A chilling sign, the notes say, of how easily tech could be used to just manipulate truth, ruin reputations.
And that's the twist they highlight, isn't it? If AI can fake conversations convincingly, then theoretically anyone's reputation could be ruined. Scary thought.
It is, but then there's the flip side. What if the AI claim is just a claim,
A distraction.
a convenient distraction, yeah, from potentially, as the source puts it, flirting behind his wife's back.
So we're back to that ambiguity.
Exactly. The material keeps circling back to it. Dan's AI excuse is described as not quite believable, not quite dismissible.
That's a good way to put it.
It just hangs there in this uncomfortable gray area that keeps people talking.
And maybe that's the point. Keep people talking about the AI part.
Could be. The note suggests that uncertainty itself might be strategic.
So the conclusion drawn in the material we looked at is that this isn't really just another celebrity scandal.
Right. It's more like a glimpse, they call it, into how blurred that line between truth and fiction has become, especially online.
Yeah.
The central question these notes leave us really wrestling with is, are we watching a genuine relationship unravel? Or a carefully staged attempt at damage control? Managing the narrative.
And ultimately, the notes stress, only 3 people actually know the full story. Dan, Jacqueline, Christine.
And crucially, they're not talking. Not publicly confirming or denying the core thing, the messages themselves.
Okay, so let's recap. We've looked at the leaked messages, the spark.
Then those very different public reactions from Dan, Jacqueline, and Christine.
Right, Dan's controversial AI claim, adding that whole tech layer.
And how it all sits within that history of public scrutiny for Dan and Jacqueline.
We've seen how silence can mean different things, how it can speak volumes in its own way.
And how technology just complicates everything when you're trying to figure out what's real.
And as the material points out, the people actually involved, they aren't confirming or denying the main allegation.
That's silence, though. Especially with so much speculation swirling.
Here's where it gets really interesting, like you said. The notes suggest that silence itself, it might be the loudest part of all. Just leaves everyone else to fill in the gaps.
So what does this all mean for you then, when you see stories like this playing out online? Especially when something like AI gets thrown into the mix. How do you even start to figure out what might be real, what's just spin, what's strategically presented?
Yeah, and what role does that potential for digital manipulation actually play in how we judge things?
It really makes you pause, doesn't it? Makes you think about the info we consume, the stuff we trust every single day.
Definitely something to ponder as you go about your day. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.